Some kids just need to see positivity because they don't have it in their lives. And for those who really buy into the process, this is a life-changing opportunity for people who are involved in our organization. But if you have all these negative influences that are just telling you what you're not all the time, you never actually get to idealize and figure out what you are.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. And, this is not just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement that's designed to bring more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations that are making a difference. And more importantly, how you can help. And there's such a narrative in the media right now that focuses so much on negativity and really drawing attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. So with that, I'm very excited to announce my first guest, Rajon Lewis with Lowcountry Youth Services. And Rajon has an amazing story with us, and I'm super, super excited to have you on. Rajon is my first guest, and welcome on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So, okay, we're going to deep dive into the mission, really the story, what you guys are about. And what I love about working with nonprofit organizations is that, there's just such a story that's there that, it isn't always on the website, right? It's the stuff that's behind the scenes that, really people come to appreciate. And so the purpose of this podcast is to bring those stories out so we can all hear them, but also, again, be part of that solution to support these organizations and making a difference, right? That's the goal here. So Rajon, tell me a little about the mission of Lowcountry Youth Services and really how it came to be.
All right, thank you so much again for having me. So Lowcountry Youth Services actually started out in 2008. It was a function of SRO, who's working with people from Charleston know as Hanahan Middle School. It's a middle school in the Berkeley County School District. And at the school, he realized that there were young men who were getting in trouble, having struggles in the school. And he wanted to find an opportunity or a way to reach out to those young people and build something substantive that would allow them to have positive male role models. So he started what was called the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club. And at the time, the nonprofit organization was called Connections in You Incorporated. That organization would surround these young men with positive male role models and positive male examples that would allow them to build a cohort, or what we call a brotherhood, through service, through positive examples, and as well as just building that unity within the group. That was in 2008. Around 2016, I came on board as a program director. When as a teacher, I was teaching 4th and 5th grade at the time. I also decided I got the bug for mentorship from being in the classroom and seeing similar things to what Ricardo had identified. We decided to work together. I started my own branch of the organization in the suburb of Charleston, which is called Somerville. And while there, I had the opportunity to work with these young men and to expand this work and expand the role of the organization. Now, when we talk about what the organization actually represents, our mission is to give every child the tools they need to succeed in life. Now, we know that for every child, that looks differently. For some kids, that's just getting that positive male role model that can show them the way. For some kids, that's getting, building skills in aptitudes that will allow them to be a more well-rounded individual. For some kids, they just need to see it. Some kids just need to see positivity because they don't have it in their lives. And at Lowcountry Youth Services, one of our goals is to create that atmosphere for young people. So that's just a little bit about how we came to be and what we do as an organization. We build both youth empowerment and mentorship initiatives, as well as whole community workshops centered around building a more well-rounded young person.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And Rajon, so diving into that a little bit further, what where can the youth and the people that you serve here, typically how are they accessing that? Is it some of it through schools? Is it in community centers? Where can they gain access to the mentorship?
Great question. So we actually have 4 programs that we run, and each has a different point of access. So our flagship program, the one I've aforementioned, the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club Mentoring Program, which is really our flagship program, works with young men from 8 to 18. And the way they get access to the program, this is a community-based program. So literally it's word of mouth. We don't really do commercials. We don't do anything except have open enrollment once a year. And when we do open enrollment, we normally have 35, 40 kids waiting to get in to join our program every single year. So our enrollment stays between on a really high year, we've been upwards of 105 kids at a time. On the low end, it's been around 70 kids at a time. This year, we have about 72 kids on roster. That's the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club. Our young ladies program, which we just unveiled, which is called the Queens Being program. It works with young ladies from 11 to 14. It's the first year of it. And we have about 10 young ladies in that. The way for young ladies to get involved in that this year was to be a sister or a sibling of one of our Distinguished Gentlemen's Club members, because we already had relationships with the family. Our third program is not as community-based. It's actually centered in schools. So we have contracts with schools where we actually go in and create mentor cohorts within schools, which we call Young Men Rise. It's a 10-week program. We go into the school, we work with the young men in the school, and then after they finish that 10-week program, they actually have the opportunity to join the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club at a time of their choosing. And then our fourth program is more back to the community base, but we actually worked with the Charleston County, the City of Charleston Police Department, and the Lens Foundation to create what we call community pods. We actually push into one of the developmental projects downtown Charleston called the Gaston Green Community. We go into that community and we work with kids in that community for a year, two engagements a month for a year. And after that time, those kids actually get the opportunity to join the larger mentoring program as well. So for each program, there's different points of access to get into the program.
That's awesome. Now Rajon, so the youth, they go through these programs, everything else. There's got to be a lot of stories with this, I would imagine. I mean, I'm sure you have through the years of doing this. What are some stories that stick out from the various programs?
Man, there's so many. Like I said, I've come on board since 2016, so I have countless stories of young men that I've been able to work with. So I'll tell you an individual story, and then I'll tell you a group story. Does that work?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Individually, when I started working with the organization in 2016, the first mentee that I ever had was a young man who was actually adopted from Haiti. He was a young Black man. He was only 8 years old at the time, and he was adopted by a Caucasian family. And at that time, the family was having a lot of struggles with him, and they brought him into the program because what they said was, though we love him very much, but we know there's certain things that we can't teach him, as a Caucasian family. We want him to have a positive African American role model in his life, and we feel like your program will be a great opportunity to do that. That young man actually, in addition to being my mentee, also went to my school that I was teaching at the time, and ended up being in my class. That young man at that time was struggling with a lot of behavioral difficulties, in school difficulties, and he's completely done a 180. Now, I can't tell you that he's the perfect kid. He definitely still has his share of issues, but I can tell you that he is much better off because of his relationship with our program than he would have been without it. I could tell you that his parents would tell you that. And in addition to that, he's also like a son of mine. I only have one son. We have 4 daughters. Me and my wife have 4 daughters and 1 son, but he's like my son to the point where he comes to my house and he just goes in the refrigerator like it's nothing. And I'm like, dude, you should probably ask somebody before you go in the refrigerator. But that's another thing. So that's individually. Group. But one thing that we take a great pride in, especially with the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club Mentoring Program, and really, all of our programs, is that we don't focus on the one-to-one mentorship aspect. We focus on the group. So it's peer-to-peer mentorship. It's adult to child mentorship, and then it's adult to adult mentorship. And with this, we've been able to create this environment, this network, even with our parents, that allows us to really tap into the great stuff, and allows us to do great things outside of this area. So every summer, we take a retreat with our young men out of town. Usually it's 3 to 4 days. We'll go out of town. We take the young men. We take about, go 4 to 1 with child and mentor. And this year we actually took 36 young men to Washington, D.C. and it was pretty much all expenses paid for the parents. They did pay a deposit to secure their child's seat, but that went towards the cost for food and lodging and all that. But that's all the parents had to pay was that deposit, which was very low compared to what it cost per child on that trip. But when we got to DC, it was such an amazing thing because we've been to Charlotte, we've done Myrtle Beach, we've done Atlanta, but to go so far away from home and to get our young men that opportunity to visit the National Mall, to visit the National African American Museum of History and Culture, it was just an amazing opportunity. That's something that I have a real time opportunity to experience every single day, even when we're just in our local area. So that was just two really distinct things that stuck out to me.
Yeah. I'm curious too, like, what are some of the youth that go through this, and the adult to youth mentorship and the adult to adult mentorship? What kind of things do they usually say? I mean, what kind of feedback do you get from them?
I mean, feedback wise, I mean, we've had situations where I'll say it this way: we've had situations where, because boys will be boys, there'll be situations where young men act like young men, and based on our bylaws, we have certain decisions we have to make. And when there was one incident that happened, and a young man was actually on the verge of being eliminated from our program based on his actions because it was a little, over the top. And I remember this young man begging, he like crying in tears, like, please do not kick me out this program. I need this. I've never been around such a positive atmosphere, and I know I made a mistake, but I am better than this. That's not an experience that you get from somebody who doesn't value the work that we're able to put in. From the adult standpoint, I can tell you that the guys who I mentor with in the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club, and even the volunteers that I've been able to work with outside of that program and our other programs, all value it so much. Like we become really close to the point where there's been deaths in the family that we've grieved together. There's been divorces we've grieved together. There's been marriages we've celebrated. There's been births of children. There's been so it goes so much further than just what the mission is. Like you said in the beginning, yes, the mission is the mission, but what actually makes the mission work is everything that happens outside of it, in between the lines. Do you just come in and say, okay, my job is to work with one kid and walk away? Or do you really buy into the process? And for those who really buy into the process, this is a life-changing opportunity for people who are involved in our organization. And that's something we take great pride in. That's something that I take great pride in as the executive director. But I think that every person that's attached to our organization takes that exact same amount of pride in our work.
Yeah, it seems like there's this common respect and both from the people that are being mentored, as well as it's just this kind of community that's been built, where again, even understand somebody who's on the verge of being eliminated from the program saying no, I don't want to go out, I gotta, what can I do to change and fix? I mean, that's huge. They're owning up to it and everything like that. You don't hear these stories,
Yeah. I think, well, I also think it's because, as a society, we've decided that, like you said in the beginning, like bad news sells. And so because the idea that bad news sells is the prevailing idea, that's what we get. You turn on the news and, if it's a 30-minute broadcast, there's 25 minutes of how terrible the world is. And then they try to sneak in one story about, a dog was saved from a burning building yesterday, and that's supposed to make you feel good about the world because they show that one thing, when the truth is that all around us, if you look at the totality of the world, there's much more good going on than negative. And if we just found the time to accentuate the positive and it would do so much good. Our lives would be better. We would be happier. We'd feel more fulfilled. But instead, we focus on the negative, and that gets the light. And I love that. And that's one of my favorite things working in the nonprofit sector, is because you do get to see that 95% of the people who are doing great things and just want amazing things for their family. The young people who really want to, thrive in life. Maybe they don't want to go to college. Maybe it's not. But if you can show them the best ways to make money without going to college, going to high school, introduce them to trades, introduce them to internships, they want those things. But the problem is that we as adults, in a lot of cases, we want to dictate to them what they be doing. The truth is, we should be asking them, hey, what do you want? If your life was perfect, what would that look like for you? And then helping guide them in that path. I think that's a better form of mentorship than what a lot of us have tried when it comes to working with young people.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing, I think the huge thing here, really, I think of what you're doing is you're with all the various programs, is you're you're allowing them to participate in programs that keep them away from being picking up that phone and being tempted to scroll down through their feed and looking at the constant negative media that's out there. I mean, it's terrible. It's that's the reason why we created this podcast too, because it's like, let's bring out the real stories here, and then ultimately, what can you do? You can't do anything if you can't create a better world if all you're doing is listening to negative media, right? So what you're doing is you're taking that time away from being exposed to that type of media, and ultimately you're through these programs of positive reinforcement, inspiration, and things like that. Everything else that your program provides them, it avoids them from even thinking like that, which is, I wish the whole world was like that. Yeah, right. What would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that we have to teach young people, and I think honestly we have to teach ourselves, is we have to love ourselves more. And it's hard to love yourself when your entire sense of self is shaped around what the world thinks of you or what the world says about you. And you can't say to yourself, positive things. I actually do an activity with my young men in the Young Men Rise group, where I go around the room and I ask everybody to say something positive about themselves. And you'll be amazed how many young people the only positive thing they have to say about themselves is if they play a sport, or if they do, like, if they think they have some kind of talent. So I'll say something positive about yourself. I'm good at basketball. I'm good at football. I'm really good at video games. I can sing. I can dance. Very few kids will say, I really like math. I'm good at spelling. I am a whiz at history. I can beat anybody at Jeopardy. Like, these are things that, and then even further, I'm handsome. I'm intelligent. I have a bright future. I'm a great public speaker. See, these are all things that within our program, we try to instill in these young men. So yeah, you may still have those negative influences. We also talk about the power of influences, the power of your network. But if you have all these negative influences that are just telling you what you're not all the time, you never actually get to idealize and figure out what you are and what you have to offer the world and what you have to bring to the table. And because of that, we have young people that are searching for themselves in the eyes of other people, whether that be social media, whether that be their parents, whether that be their friends, just random strangers on the street. We have young ladies whose idea of beauty is completely shaped on what they see on Instagram. Like, think about that. We have young men whose idea of success is based on what they see somebody doing on a rap video. So if you see success as somebody holding a money phone to their ear, well, what's their first obligation? Well, I got to get to where I can have a money phone. What are they doing? Oh, they're selling drugs? Okay, cool. I need to get to where they are. So I need to sell drugs so I can have a money phone, so I can stunt for the gram. Because now I have a sense of self-worth, because doing that is what you have to do to get a sense of self-worth. Instead of saying, you're already handsome, you're already intelligent, you're already beautiful as you are. And everything that you add to your life is going to only further bolster your opportunity to give back to the world. Because that's our ultimate obligation, is to receive and then give back. Every single one of us. So when you do that, you teach young people to not only love themselves, but to love their community, to love their surroundings, and to be a part of the positive as opposed to part of the negative.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you, because even in social media, you look at that, and when you go on there, it's all the positive pictures. It's versus one, just being appreciative of the fact that you were born. I mean, there's a 400. I think I read a stat recently. It was like 400 trillion to 1 chance of being born.
Wow.
So even if you aren't as smart as you think you want to be, or you don't have all these other qualities, just the fact that you're born is something special, and to cherish that. I mean, it's huge. But what I love about your program is it's instilling in the community, and people need to hear this. Like, it's instilling that you don't compare yourself with people that are posting about themselves on Instagram, because half the time anyway, they're putting so many filters on that thing that it's going to make anybody look good. So but if they start to believe that, and I think what you do is you help them kind of break that, right? You break that thought process.
Yeah, it's all about finding that sense of self. A lot of times, go back to my point about a kid may say, "Well, I'm not good. I'm not talented because I don't play an instrument or I don't sing." But the truth is that every single one of us has a skill. Every single one of us has a strong point. And if you can help a young person to identify their interests, first of all, and then let them use their interests, because the things that you're interested in are usually the things you'll be talented in. And if you're talented in it, then you can use that to usually build your aptitudes toward a career. And you can have any career that you want. But how many kids feel like their ideal careers are blocked off because they're not realistic? When the truth is, they just haven't done enough research into what they can do. There's a kid, my daughter's boyfriend loves to draw. He's an amazing artist. And a lot of people just think like, oh, he just doodles all the time. I'm like, no. So when I talk to him, I'm like, no, like, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to be an architect? Do you want to be a professional illustrator? Do you want to be a graphic designer? We're having conversations about how do you use the talents that you already have to build. Like, I get kids wanting to be engineers and stuff, but every kid's not going to be an engineer. I get kids wanting to be a lawyer. Every kid's not going to be a lawyer. I get kids wanting to be a doctor. Every kid's not going to be a doctor. But if you have a natural skill for counting, you could probably be an accountant. If you have a natural skill for drawing or for taking care of people, that's a skill.
Mm-hmm.
My mom doesn't feel well. Mr. Lewis, when my mom doesn't feel well, I'm always the person to cheer her up. Cool. Let's dig deeper into that. What are you recognizing in your mom that makes you realize she needs cheering up? You have emotional talent. You have an emotional skill that'll probably make you a good psychologist, a good sociologist, a good public servant. Like, these are things that we can look at if we're intentional and help young people to get to where they need to be. And that's why Lowcountry Youth Services obligation and goal as an organization is to identify the strengths of a kid. We are a strengths-based organization. Identify their strengths and let them build on their strengths. I'm not coming in there to tell a kid what they're not. I'm not in there to tell a kid what they can't do. If a kid tells me they're going to the NBA, I believe them. My next question is, okay, cool. How often are you practicing? Because if you're telling me you're going to the NBA, then I need to see at least 5 hours of practice daily.
At least. Yeah.
Like, I need to see you giving an NBA level effort. And every time I talk to you, I'm going to say, how many hours did you practice yesterday? How many hours did you practice today? As opposed to saying, you can't go, it's not possible for you to go to the NBA, which is what we do.
Yeah, and you're focusing on that positive reinforcement, which is, again, if you want to win the game, you got to figure out how do we continue scoring versus how do we defend against the other team.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So psychology is just completely different, right?
Yes.
But you are coaching and mentoring people in the right way, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
So Rajon, with that, I mean, like, has there been in your tenure and as you've joined the organization, I mean, has there been stories about the people you've mentored kind of going on and now they're mentoring other people? I guess how do you see the succession of this thing or the services happening?
Well, we're in a fortunate situation where our organization got started in 2008. Our first group of kids, I want to say, were in middle school. Yeah, they were in middle school when they started. So that was in 2008. So they've actually gone on to, graduate from high school, become, husbands and fathers and servants in their communities in their own right. I can think of one person in particular, Mr. Cameron Blackman, who's actually Officer Cameron Blackman now. I don't know his rank, but he came through our program, having that relationship with Ricardo Perry, who was our founder. He became a police officer. He mentors in school that he's an SRO in now, which is crazy, full circle. Josiah Dixon, he actually is a deputy. He's a deputy with the Colleton County Sheriff's Department, who came through our program. Isaiah Singleton, he just completed his bachelor's degree at Charleston Southern University and accepted his commission in the United States Air Force. Octavius Hayes. Octavius Hayes is actually the general manager of the Jersey Mikes right down the street from me. So, like, these young men all are great representatives of, what happens when you go through it. Also, as these young men graduate from high school, they tend to come back and join as mentors. What's my guy's name? Begins with A. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. But one of our guys who actually came through was in that first group. He actually has just come back to join us in the mentor groups as well. So as these young men, we had a kid who graduated from high school, Tamarick Footman. He graduated from high school last year, and he said, "Hey, I want to come back and mentor next year." So he's 19 years old, and he's already in our junior mentor program to become a mentor within our program once he hits 21 years old, which you have to be a full-fledged mentor. But it's a self-regenerating process once you get them to that level, as long as you do it the right way.
Yeah. And the way I see it too is this is you're really, you're producing, if you will, positive or contributing, these people are contributing to society, right? Like making meaningful contributions,
Yeah.
all too, because you've also made that part of the program is to make them aware of what they're strong at.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also to lead lives. You talk about leadership, right? You talk about, by leading them through mentorship and everything else, teaching them how to be leaders. So eventually they either, give back by either mentoring other people, just like they were mentored, or going out into the community. And, again, you got to figure what kind of conversations are these people having, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we might not even hear about that. They're going out and sharing that same positive mentality and everything else, maybe with their kids, their family, their community, and that type of thing, which is actually helping the community, is probably contributing
Yeah.
to just a healthier community, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. One thing I didn't speak about yet is that within our Distinguished Gentlemen's Club, our Distinguished Gentlemen's Club, our Queens Being program, as well as our community pods initiative, we have a community service aspect that's tied into it. I spoke earlier about the will to give back from our young people. They actually have a community service aspect. So for the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club and the Queens Being programs, they have an 18-hour community service requirement in that program. And so we actually create service opportunities for them to go out. Actually, last weekend on Saturday, my daughter, who's one of the Queens Being, and my son, who's a part of the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club, they were at what's Dorchester Paws, which is our local pet clinic place, where they were actually out there helping to clean up the kennels and helping to beautify that place as one of their community service opportunities. We actually had, I think, 10 kids that were out there. That's something that we build into the program, because again, it does us no good to tell these kids, hey, we want to give you a mentor, and that mentor not be an example of what needs to happen next for you. How do you pivot from being mentored to being being mentored to being the mentor, being served by your community to serving your community? And by doing these things, these young people actually build that natural need for service. Not only that need, but the will and the capacity to understand how you can do it, and how little things add up to big things. So yeah, we've definitely been great. Been grateful to have that as a part of our programming, and we hope to continue to do that. For some time to come.
Yeah, and as I see it, I'm not in your community, but I would see any kind of donation or support volunteerism, anything like that is really making an investment into the community, right? Like, instead of
Yeah.
complaining about the community or hearing stories. Again, there's so much negative media out there. It's not even funny. And you pull up YouTube, you pull up anything, and it's like you can't, like, sometimes you can't even not like see the
Yeah.
negative headlines and want to collect to some degree and say, what is that? But but it is a way to reinvest back into the community, just like you do with your, you invest your tax dollars back in the community, hoping that you have better infrastructure, you're supporting all the different people that are supporting you, the fire departments, the police departments, all those types of things that keep a community together. But really, this program, what you're doing right here is you're basically contributing to a community that is not where more people in that community are leading, and less, versus, kind of taking from their community,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes.
So, what ways can, what ways can an individual or an organization get involved? Sponsorships, donating, that type of thing. How can we help?
Thank you for asking that. So that's a really sensitive topic to me. And I'm glad, before I say how they can get involved, I want to speak about why it's important. Mentorship is probably one of the most under-resourced public services that we have. People understand the importance of all these things that society needs, right? But when it comes to mentorship, we just say, oh, well, somebody will do it. It'll get taken care of. And the truth is that mentorship, especially in a nonprofit organization, requires funding. It requires money. And a lot of people don't see the importance of funding and supporting mentorship with your dollars. They'll say, hey, we want to give you some ties to teach kids how to tie a tie, which we appreciate, but trust me, there's so much more to mentorship to tying ties. If mentorship was just teaching kids how to tie ties, then we'd have a whole lot of mentored people in this world, just because a lot of people wear ties. But the truth is that a lot of people wear ties and on the inside do not have the thing that you actually need to be successful. They do not have that positive influence that will allow them to become the person that they will be, whether they have that tie on or not. How does that happen? It requires resources. It requires financial resources to make it happen. Our organization is massively underfunded. We have had a really good fundraising year this year, and it's been our highest fundraising year up until this point. But I have to tell you that we've been operating on a shoestring budget since our inception in 2008. We're actually just getting to the point where we just got to the point where we can afford to have part-time staff. And one of our major goals is to hire full-time staff. That only happens when we have sustainable sources of income. So how can you get involved if you want to help us to continue and to expand this work? One, go to our website, www.lowcountryyouth.org. You will find a whole lot more information about our organization, what we do, and how we're impacting our communities. You can see impact statements. You can see testimonials. You can see our wall of fame, where we actually have members who have come through and graduated from our program. And if you want to, go to where it says give, donate, and donate. And I would even challenge you to not just become a one-time donor, become a repeat donor. Set it up, do $10, $20, $30 a month. Those few dollars out of your pocket that you would probably spend on Starbucks coffee, or honestly a meal at Burger King these days, could do amazing work in this organization and allowing us to expand our work. So that's one thing. Two, you can become a sponsor. We do have sponsorship levels that come with certain perks in terms of acknowledgement that we have on our site that range in price from $500 to $10,000. You can sponsor one of our events. If there's a specific thing that you want to donate money towards, you can do that as well. Really, it's up to you. But every single dollar that goes into Lowcountry Youth Services goes directly back into ensuring that there's quality mentoring and youth development programming going on.
Yeah, and what I really like about what you guys have done on your website, and your website too, when you go to donate on your website, it tells the a person like me who would support you for sure, where that dollar goes. So if you donate, $50 or $100, where that can go. And I mean, what a better gratifying feeling than to give monthly, where you can contribute that. You're a 501c3 organization, so it is, it's a deductible, right? But to your point, I mean, it's like, what satisfaction do you get, getting that extra gallon of gas, which seems to be closer to $15. Like, it feels like it's $15 a gallon right now. But man, like, you buy that feeling. I mean, my gosh, if you want to be a part of the solution here, again, our whole thing, the point in this podcast is to be part of the solution, not the problem. So, so I mean, and I know you have some examples of that, though. Can you, with the donations and some of the amounts, can you just touch on those real quick?
Yeah, so I'm not on the site, so I'm not looking at it right now. Let me pull it up, and I could for sure give you those levels. Give me 1 second. Every child wins. Open. All right, sorry. So preview. So on our site, we have it listed as you mentioned previously. Oh my gosh, visit. So we have, for if you donate, $25, you provide food for a club meeting. Our club meetings are times where we actually get it helps to provide food for our club meetings. So every second Tuesday in Distinguished Gentlemen's Club in the Queens Being program, we actually have a club meeting where we come in and we do our training based on a specific task, a specific theme for the month. So during those meetings, we also provide food, not only for the members who come, but also for the parents, because sometimes we have parent meetings. So $25, if you donated that monthly, will go towards that. $50 would be enough to allow 2 members to attend our outings. Every month we have some kind of fun outing that requires normally some kind of tickets to be bought or some kind of food to be purchased, or some kind of transportation. For $90 a month, it would help us to buy clubhouse supplies. So we actually have a clubhouse that we've been. It's a clubhouse who actually used to be it's a Head Start center, but they gave us the media center, where we have our clubhouse, where we have TVs, we have a pool table, we have ping pong table, and it's just a cool place for kids to hang out. Of course, over time, wear and tear, you have to replace things. So that allows us to either replace things that have been sort of damaged or worn down, or to buy new things to improve what we have there. For $100, you join our 1,000 Strong campaign. Our 1,000 Strong campaign is actually an initiative that we started to get 1,000 people to give $100. And by doing that, that would allow us to raise $100,000 as an organization. And then $250 actually underwrites a year in retreat for one young person to be able to go on that retreat that I spoke about earlier. As I previously mentioned, we've taken young people last year to Washington, D.C., 2 years before that, Atlanta, the year before that, Myrtle Beach, the year before that, Charlotte, North Carolina. And every time we do that, we always do a college tour. We always have some STEM-based component that the kids are involved in. But every single donation, every single dollar, like I said, goes right back into making sure that we're providing quality youth empowerment and youth development programming for young people.
Yeah, and it's a real way to again contribute to that, contribute to your community, right? We don't mind paying taxes, right? It seems to be automatic for some people on their paycheck and everything else, but if you think about even just a small investment, anywhere from $25 all the way up to $250 as an individual, or individual person. I mean, think what kind of impact you can make, even as an organization that gives back. If you're an organization, especially around that area that believes in community, right, and everything else. I know there's a lot of banks and credit unions that typically tend to do that. This is perfect for them. I mean, this is excellent because you're reinvesting back to the community, and you guys are doing real good, solid work. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. I would echo everything you just said. If you are an organization or you are a person that's looking to give back to your community, to trying to find ways to impact young people, especially, with everything that's going on in education, when we're looking at, the shortcomings of the educational system, though, as a former teacher, I definitely am a champion for teachers and everything that's happening, but we do know that they can only do so much. I think the way to sort of bridge some of that gap is through community programming, through youth empowerment programming. I remember being a kid, and when they tore down our basketball courts and put up a tennis court, knowing that they didn't give us tennis rackets or tennis balls to play in that community. And so these things are happening repeatedly in our communities, and we have to find a way to get back to coaching these young people, to mentoring these young people. And if that's something you believe in, please go to our website, www.lowcountryyouth.org, and find a way to get involved, whether it be to volunteer or to give financially. We definitely would appreciate every single dollar. Thank you.
Rajon, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. I'll just end in saying, is there actually any last words before we hop off here?
I'm excited about the opportunity to work with you all. I mean, to expand our capacity to spread the message of positive youth engagement that's really youth-centered and youth-focused. We're here for anything that we can do. If you would like to reach out to me directly, you could always email me at rlewis, RLEWIS, @lowcountryyouth.org. I'm here to be a conduit for success for every young person in the Lowcountry. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And remember, everybody, you have the ability to be a part of the solution, not the problem, right? Here's one way of doing it. So I'll be sure wherever this video is, we'll make sure to include links to your website, where you can donate, to your YouTube channel. I know you guys have some great YouTube videos out there, some announcements, things like that. So be sure to subscribe to Lowcountry Youth Services YouTube channel to stay ahead of everything going on. And Rajon, I know you're just awesome. I mean, as far as communicating that mission and vision and everything else. So can't thank you enough for coming on, being my first guest.
No problem.
So this has been awesome. So I'll definitely invite you back on.
Yes, sir.
To hear some of the new stories and how things have changed So I'm super excited about that. And remember, we all can take part in becoming in this movement to make the world a better place, right? And focusing on positivity, cutting out the negativity, and working with organizations like Lowcountry Youth Services to be a part of that change. So with that said, have an awesome day, everybody.